Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to Transforming Trauma Podcast with Dr. Triphi. How are you today? It is Therapy Thursday. And you all know every Thursday I try to show up here and I try to use trending topics. I try to use important issues to talk more about psychology. My goal is to help you learn skills, tips, strategies to transform trauma into passion, purpose, and power. Yeah. So who am I? Again, I'm Dr. Triphi. I'm a licensed psychologist in Atlanta, Georgia. And while I live in Atlanta, I am from the beautiful island of Dominica. Not to be confused with the Dominican Republic. They are a completely different country. We love them, but we are further south. We speak English and a French Creole. Okay? So tonight I have a lovely, lovely guest to help me talk about how to transform trauma into passion, purpose, and power. And I want to introduce to you the lovely author, published author several times. Let me let you know this, Ms. Vanessa Alexander-Bey. So I'm going to allow her to introduce herself to us. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. I am excited to be on the podcast again today. I am, like she said, Vanessa, published author from Dominica. I have always claimed to be Dominican, although I am not a native of the island. I do consider myself from the island of Dominica since I moved there when I was, 6 months old. So I am Dominican. There is no other way
So
to
where
put it.
were you born? Tell us where you were born.
So I was born in Saint Martin on the French side, but
Yeah.
I am Dominican through
Yeah.
and yes. So I'm an author, 3 times published, and my latest book, Unpacking My Shit, is what we're going to talk about a little bit today. So yeah, I'm excited to be here and get some of the feedback from you guys and have you guys join the discussion as we talk about turning trauma into purpose, power, and everything else.
Everything else. Thank you so much. That was a lovely, lovely, lovely introduction. I love your shirt. I love your t-shirt. Say that again.
I had to represent.
You had to represent. I love it. So y'all, when you come in, you all know the drill. Come in, like the video, and share the video. Okay? Like and share. All right. Thank you all so much for showing up every Thursday. Thursdays when I put on my little makeup and I try to make my little nice little dandan and I try to look cute because some other times I am not feeling like it and I have a lot to say. So you'll see me in my car, you'll see me by the lake, you'll see me lots of places talking, okay? But yeah, so you're an author, man. So I think sometimes when we hear that, we can feel a little intimidated. I think a lot of people have a dream to write books, but I don't know how many people actually follow through with the whole process. So, can you tell us a little bit about taking a book from an idea in your head all the way to the published? What does the published copy look like? Can we see it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like how do you go from idea to reality, to physical reality? Tell us a little bit more about that process.
Okay. So writing for me actually was a coping mechanism. When I started writing, my intentions were not to publish. Um,
Mm,
I was always told as a little girl my mouth would get me in trouble. And I've kind of lived up to that. I don't know if I willingly lived up to it, but I've always lived up to it because I've always said whatever was on my mind, but never what was on my heart. So, whatever was on my heart, I internalized it. And it took me a
mm,
long time for me to get to the point where I could write it and share it. So, I wrote for as long as I can remember. I've always written. I have journals upon journals upon journals that I've just always written things down. And so I remember about 8 years ago, I wrote a chapter for my first book and I posted it on Facebook. And somebody asked me what I was reading. And I said, I'm not reading anything. I am writing this. It's been a story in my head every time I go to sleep. It's just a recurring story. So I continued writing it and sharing it on Facebook. And then somebody said, you should publish this. I had no idea how to publish anything. So I went the self publishing route, contacted a publishing company, um, and did the process through them. Since then, I've switched over. I've done one book on Amazon and then I've switched to Tableau for two of the other books. So, what I just did essentially was just get everything out and put it on paper and share it with the world. Because if I hadn't, my trauma would have continued to traumatize me.
Mm.
Now that I write, once I write it down, I either keep it or I burn it or I put it away. And once I've written it, that is the end of it. I don't think about it anymore. I don't discuss it anymore. Writing is literally just my therapy. So I just write to get it out of the way.
That's beautiful. Writing is actually a therapeutic tool. We call it logo therapy. You know, the word logo
Yes.
is word, right? And logo therapy is a powerful tool, y'all, to release trauma, to release your pain, to get really feelings and thoughts and questions you have inside of you out of you, because what that does is it takes that negative heavy energy from inside and it puts it out there. Petra and Glenda, how are you guys doing? Welcome, welcome. Share the live, share the live. So Vanessa, where in Dominica? Okay, so you were born in St. Martin, but where in Dominica did you grow up? Where were you raised?
I was raised in Zikak.
Zika, Portsmouth. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the little tiny village of Zikak up on the hill.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yes, yes.
yeah, that was my stomping ground.
Yeah.
That was I lived. Lived in several different houses um, in Zikak, but
Mhm.
Zikak was
Zika.
it for me. Yeah.
Okay. So tonight I labeled the session tonight poor father-daughter relationships and child abuse. And I did that because I want to talk about it tonight.
Mhm.
Recent psychological research shows that a father's influence on a daughter's life shapes her self-esteem, shapes her self-image, shapes her self-confidence, and in large part her opinions of men. And that girl's relationship with her father can actually determine her ability to trust. It also impacts her need for approval and her belief in herself. So, from all of what the research is saying, strong father daughter relationships are essential to a healthier, happier life. Now, I read a little bit of your book, page 8. I see you titled it Daddy Issues. Is that what you called it? Can you tell
Daddy.
us a little bit more about that?
So I will be 43 this year.
Hmm.
Still to this day, have never met my father.
Wow.
I've seen a few photos of him, and I've developed somewhat of a relationship with his other children, but I've never met him in person. I've spoken to him on the phone, I would say 5 times in my entire
Mm.
and I flew out to the Caribbean twice to meet up with him, and he didn't show up, which I also detailed in the book. So for me, growing up, the first of 6 children, the other kids had their dad. And so for me, I always wondered, why my dad never came and found me, or why my dad was not around, or uh, why I wasn't loved enough, or why he didn't care enough to come see if I was alive or not.
Mm.
And so, for a long time, actually to this day, it still affects me, not as much as it did prior to writing the book. But before I wrote the book, I remember crying many a nights, even as an adult, married with children, wondering why this man never saw the value in coming to find his child. I
Mm-hmm.
do believe I was the last of his children. I do,
Mm-hmm.
I could be mistaken, but I do believe I was the last of his children. And he is not from Dominica. So when my mom left St. Martin, she left that relationship and
Mm-hmm.
came back to Dominica. And then that was the end of it.
Mm.
Um, Never really got a reason why they didn't work out. Never got a reason why he never showed up. Never got a reason why he didn't really come the two times that I flew out to meet with him. Um, and so it's just always been that lingering question of what was wrong with me. What
Yeah.
what did I
What did you
um,
do wrong?
what did I do wrong?
Mm-hmm.
So I felt it from his side and I felt it from my mother's side, because the resentment that she had for him, I
Mm-hmm.
and so for a long time it was this constant, your father's a dog, your father's a dog. And I think I put that in the book. And I
Mm-hmm.
would think, oh wow, my father's a dog. Okay. Like that was what I knew him as, because that's what I was always told, is that your father is a dog. And
You know,
so
in the book, I'd love for you to read that, because you said something in the book that to the effect that not having a dad messed you up royally. So on, I think it's on page 8 in the third paragraph,
yep.
you talk about your other siblings having fathers
Hmm.
that would come around. So as the author, I'd love to hear your voice. I'd love to hear the author's voice.
Okay.
Read that if you're okay with that.
So let's read that paragraph. So it says,
Yeah.
my other siblings all had their fathers. They came around to see their kids. Why hadn't mine done the same? To this day, I have no idea the dynamic of that relationship was, but the fact that two consenting adults could produce something so precious together and not care enough to see if the offspring was taken care of, or the demise of that relationship, would always haunt me. I wondered for years if I had something to do with it. Was I ugly? Was I too skinny? Was I too dark? Why didn't he want me? Why hadn't my mother demanded that he be present? Why wasn't I worth coming to look for? That would shape how I viewed men for a long time to come.
Oh, ouch, ouch, ouch. Okay, Glenda says, she asks, doesn't that apply to boys too? Father daughter, father son? Yes, it does apply to boys too in many ways. Some of the ways that it manifests itself are a bit different. So another week we'll talk about how it impacts boys too. But it absolutely does, Glenda, negatively impact boys too. Hi, Chris and Sandra. Welcome, welcome. Petra just ordered her copy.
Yay.
Yeah, Petra, please leave a review. You know how the game goes. Read it, leave a review, right, Petra? So, Vanessa, kids, okay, so as a psychologist, what I've seen in kids is they make up fantasy stories in their head about the missing parent. Did you?
Yes, I did. And that's actually in the book as well. So, and I remember this story so clearly. I went to a funeral from somebody on my father's side.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back from the funeral. My mother hadn't gone. And I came back home. She was sitting on the steps outside. And I remember walking up the little driveway, what we would call a driveway, walking up that little walkway to her and saying, I had seen my father.
Mm.
Like, all excited. I had fabricated this story down to a T. The details were ridiculous. I had visualized him. I had put him in clothes. I had described the close to her. I had described our experience that we had at the funeral. I
Mm-hmm.
detailed meeting him to her, and her reaction was, okay. That
She didn't
that
ask
was
you questions. She didn't tell you, no, that cannot be. She
nope.
just, oh, so
Just
what was that like for you?
so I was just like, oh, oh, okay. I guess. Oh, okay. So I think I was probably 11 or 12 at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Was kind of just the end of that relationship. And then I think about 2 years later, I met my sister, which is his daughter, for the first time. And I remember her disagreement with us meeting. I remember the disconnect when I said that I had met my sister. And again,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get to spend more time with my sister, I had to come up with these lies about, what we were going to be doing. And my sister's going to take me here and she's going to take me there, just so I could get to spend time with the sister that I had just met.
Yeah.
And it's so much tension with the idea, like, how dare you want to spend time with this person?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's his child. He didn't want you. She has his last name. You don't have his last name, that kind of thing. So, and that was another thing that bothered me, was that I had her last name and not his.
I
And
see.
then kids had his last name. So that was another battle in my head. Like, you know, why don't I have his last name? Is he really my father? Like, what's going on? He's not on my birth certificate. There is just no trace of this man, just zero. So to this day, I wouldn't even know where to begin. I mean, I still have contact with the siblings from him, but
Mm-hmm.
it's this relationship with not having him be a part of my life that you know, the siblings are like, we're like awkward, almost awkward. I know that there is some kind of love there, but
Yeah.
it's just not natural.
So, uh, this thing that you're describing is a sense of belonging, not having a sense of belonging to. Like
Right.
nobody claimed me. My root, my father, my cover, my umbrella did not claim me. And so where do I belong? Now, siblings, that's a beautiful thought too, because
Ooh.
siblings sometimes can offer a little bit of that sense of belonging, but it takes a lot of effort on the siblings' part to maintain that connection, that new thing without the father. What was, which is what you're describing. So you're having a lot of facial expressions. If your face could talk, what would it say to me?
um
Deep breath.
yeah,
Yeah, deep breath.
that there is still so much unpacking to do,
Yeah,
and that even as an adult,
yeah,
that yearning for
yeah,
a young woman, a female child,
yeah,
want to feel that father's love,
yeah,
or this connection, or just knowing that, hey, I reached out, I made an effort. If he had even met with me on one of the two occasions that I flew across the world to meet with him
yeah,
and separated, there would have still been some kind of closure.
yeah,
Um, but there was never, ever anything. The times that we spoke on the phone, he would ask me, how's your mom doing? I'm like, how am I doing?
yeah, yeah,
I'm trying to have a relationship with you, and you were asking me about my mom, who
yeah,
you guys clearly couldn't make it work together. So, what's to the question now? But
yeah.
yeah, it's been a challenge, to
Can I
say.
say I am sorry this happened to you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry this happened to you. I'm sorry this has happened to so many little girls, including yours truly.
And
But
so common. It's not.
yes,
There is nothing fancy about my story. There are a lot of fatherless children out there.
yeah,
Um, But sometimes when there are fatherless children, the mother steps in and there is love.
Yeah.
But when you don't have,
Interesting.
so
Like, yeah.
I'm an orphan. Like
Yes.
either
You
one
feel
of
like an
us
orphan.
both alive.
Yeah.
So it's just, the balancing act of where do I fit in? I pick
Yes.
up the phone and call either one of them if something is going wrong and be like, hey, mom, or hey, dad, this is what's going on in my life. So,
Who do I belong to? Who is mine that I
yeah,
can claim? Who claims me?
yeah,
Yes.
nobody.
Petra says she feels the pain. She feels the pain. I'm thinking of that void, that emptiness that you've experienced for essentially all of your life
Yeah.
when her father died at 18. And so her response was like her whole world felt like it turned upside down. And she became then rebellious and carefree, meaning like no care in the world. I don't care. And she's recently beginning to understand that she was grieving, but needed some professional counseling to help her through that time. So, question about grief. Are you what was your emotional response? Would you say the response you had or you've been having throughout your life has been a grieving experience for this thing you did not ever have a taste for, ever have access to, this father relationship?
I think, I don't know if I'm grieving it because I've never had it. I think I'm grieving all the unfortunate things that happened as a result of not having that relationship. Because I can't miss something I never had.
Mm-hmm,
But I see the relationship that other people had with their kids.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I see the relationship that my kids have with their father. I
Yeah,
see the relationship that my husband has with his dad, who is deceased.
yeah,
He was 3. He still remembers that loving relationship, and that carries him through.
yeah,
And I tell him sometimes because he says, it's hard not having my dad. And I said, even if you only had him for 3, 4 years of your life, you are still holding on to those fond memories. I
mm-hmm.
never had it.
Yes, yes.
So it's almost like an anger, like, how dare you say you're missing him? You at least had him. I,
Mm,
so sometimes I have to be careful with that misplaced anger when I see
yeah,
people enjoying their parents or talking about, well, my dad doesn't talk to me anymore. I'm like, well, at least he did at one point.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you go back to those memories. I never had that. So,
yeah. Yes. Glenda says, thank you for sharing. This will help many other people. Very brave. Her hats off to you. And it is very brave to share and to talk about things that make us feel not so good.
yeah. So,
So it's a powerful thing that you're doing because, one of my goals in life, in the work that I do, is to teach people essentially, well, how do I take this pain that I feel and create something actually positive with it?
right.
It's not going to erase the pain or the experience you've had, but you can create a brand new, powerful, beautiful thing with it. That's called transmuting energy. You're
Right.
changing the nature of the energy. Yes, you came to destroy me. This kind of pain tries to destroy us. But
Absolutely.
I'm going to intentionally do something positive with it. And hopefully, as Glenda is saying, somebody else might listen to me and hear, and it might have a positive impact. So, what is your intention with the book? What is your intention? Besides, you mentioned one, which is it's been a way for me to cope. Do you have any other intentions for this book?
If it helps one person realize that their life experiences does not define who they are now,
Mm-hmm.
then I would have won. Like, that would have been mission accomplished. Um, and I've had a few people reach out to me and say this little book, I call it a little book, um, has helped them so much and helped them realize that it's not them. You're not the problem. Um,
Mm-hmm.
happened, and you were part of the thing that happened, but you are not the thing that happened.
I am not my pain.
No, no.
No, I am not my pain.
Yeah. So, for me, it's allowing me to not let those negative things define me, because they've defined me my whole life. Every decision
So,
has been based on the experiences that I've had,
can you give some examples?
the partners I've had. Um, I feel like if I had had a father figure, then my first sexual experience would not have been what it was, because there would have been a man present to say, I love you, you're beautiful, um, I'm going to protect you, versus the person that did say it to me, who was an adult when I was a child,
Mm,
crossed that boundary. So
mm.
for me, and again, even if the father wasn't there and then the mother had stepped up and done those things, then I think my life would have been a little different. Um, but
Pause
then,
for a second before you go further. So there you introduce us to how not having a father figure present in your life, not only does it negatively impact you and maybe the choices you make, perhaps it also allows other predators, it allows predators to see your vulnerability and capitalize on that vulnerability.
yeah,
Come in and fill that hole, so to
correct.
speak.
Because you want to feel like you belong to someone. You
Mhm.
want to feel like somebody loves you.
Yes,
And it's natural to
absolutely.
feel that from a man.
Absolutely.
So a woman's first love is her father.
Yes.
It's the first male that shows you, or supposed to show you, love. So
Yeah.
if you don't get it from that person and you're clinging to somebody else, then usually if the person is not on the up and up, then they're going to take advantage of that, because you're
Mhm.
doing everything in your power to appease and please and do everything for that person so you can just feel love.
Yeah,
Sometimes the way that you show that can be misconstrued,
absolutely.
and then insert sexual relationship when all you
Mhm.
just want to do is to feel loved. But as
Yeah,
you don't know that that's what's going on.
yeah,
And I think about those experiences that I had and how I participated in them.
yeah.
And then I look back and I was like, but I was still a child.
That's right.
Whether I participated or not, you were the adult and you knew better, or should have known better, but you took advantage of a situation.
Mhm.
It's just, it's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword, because
And that's why community must step in essentially to be the covering for children.
yes.
Because not every child has both parents. Some of us are really properly orphaned. Both parents die.
Mhm.
Many kids don't have any parent. So, and bearing in mind that a child's brain, sorry, does not mature until 25, year old, 25. 2, 5 is when biologically you can say a child's brain, like you're really a proper adult.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. And at 25, I had already been married for 4 years at that point. I got married.
Wow.
So I had already been married for 4 years with two children at
Wow.
25. And I knew something was wrong when I would get upset if another child wanted to play with my kid's dad. I would get furious. Like, no, like that's their dad. Let
Yeah.
them their dad. And I remember thinking in my head, this is not the way you should be thinking right now. But it was so important for me to for them to have time with their dad. And the child that I was talking about, or I am talking about, was his godson.
Mm.
Was his godson. So it
Yeah.
was okay for
Yeah.
that to be going on. But I still was so protective of the time that they had with him,
Yeah.
that it angered me when the child came around, because
Yeah.
I was like, you're taking time away from my kids with their dad. And so I had to realize that, and pay attention to it. Like no, you need to spend time with your children, not with anybody else's children. Like no. And so that's kind of the trauma that happens when it's left unchecked,
Yeah.
and you're just dying for that love and attention, and you don't get it.
You mentioned a couple really powerful signs to look out for within your own self, within yourself. Notice some of these things to see if I'm having a trauma response. You said I would just go along to get along. I just wanted to please this person and do whatever I needed to do to get that little bit, that little crumb
Right.
of affection, even if it was an out of order connection, because this was an
Right.
adult and I was a child, and we develop what are called feelings of ambivalence. Feelings of ambivalence are part of you knows, oh my God, this is off, this is weird, but the other part is so hungry for
Yes.
natural affection that it says yes, and it goes
Yeah.
along, and it gets abused by the adult perpetrator, predator, who's taking advantage of the weakness of the young without the masculine covering.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that happened over and over and over and over and over and over
Yeah,
again. Um,
yeah,
you know, left when I was 16, and I'm going to be 43.
hmm,
This still bothers me.
absolutely.
If I see the name, or I see a picture, or I see anything, like I
Mhm.
still shake.
Yeah,
Get so
yeah,
angry.
yeah, yeah,
And so it's a work in progress. It's a daily, making sure your vibration is high. It's a daily controlling your thoughts. It's a
yeah,
daily, you know, just watching what you say and how you think and what you're saying to yourself, because I blamed myself for a long time. And a lot of people, it's like I block things out, and it's like a lot of people say, "Oh, I remember you when you were in DA. You
mhm,
were so this, and you were so that, and you were so strong, and you were always defending me, and you were always," and I'm like, huh? I don't know that person. So
yeah,
it was like a coping mechanism where I had this tough exterior wanting to protect everybody else.
mhm.
There was nobody protecting me.
You were offering the protection you were wishing you could get,
Right.
and
So I
then
was
forgetting,
every yeah,
yeah, you were just swinging at everything,
every
swinging at everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
You
yeah,
talk about forgetting. To forgetting is a coping mechanism we call dissociation,
yeah,
where the stuff is too much for the brain and to cope with the traumatic events. Because again, if I am ambivalent, is one side I'm yes, next side I'm no. It's like
right,
I'm working against my own self. That's a very painful place to be.
right,
A lot of us, even as grown women, will do this. We'll stay in relationship with people who are hurting us, or who are being disrespectful or unkind, and this thing is not right.
right.
I'm staying anyway, and
Hmm.
so it scares you in two.
Yeah, it does. And it's funny, because even when I was writing the book, I'm trying to unpack,
Hmm.
to heal. I'm trying to do the work so that I can be better for me. And I stopped writing because I said, I'm still protecting those people.
Hmm.
I didn't put anybody's names. I
Yeah.
sh- um I didn't do any of that. I still left it broad.
Mm.
You know me in Dominica, then you're gonna know who my mom is. So you're gonna put two and two together.
Yeah.
I kept saying, I kept putting disclaimers in the book. Well, maybe these were the tools she had. Maybe this is the best that she could do. Maybe this, maybe that. Well, I just kept making excuses for everyone when meanwhile I'm the only one that's essentially suffering.
Pain. Hmm.
So
When did you have an epiphany that I need to do something different? Do you recall any particular event or a time when you were like, okay, I have to do this in a different way. This is not working for me.
I think there were several times when that happened, but I never did anything. I think December of 2022
Mm.
took my life.
December 22 or 21?
21 December,
Last December. Yes.
when I almost took my life.
Can you tell us more? Are you okay telling us more? You don't have to if you're not okay.
I'm okay with it because it's in the book.
Okay.
I was at a job and loved the job, just
Mhm.
absolutely loved it. And I remember the owner of the business had sent me a message, and I said, I feel like you're being disrespectful. It wasn't in any sexual nature or anything like that. It was just the tone of the text message. Uh,
Mhm.
it was accusatory of not doing what I was supposed to do. So I said, I feel like you've been disrespectful.
Mhm.
Um, the response was, well, then I think it's best we go our separate ways. So there were two things that happened there. It was the abandonment kicked in, like,
Yeah.
wow, I've just devoted all
Abandonment. Mhm.
rejected me. So that abandonment just like kicked in full gear.
Mhm.
And then it was you're not respecting my boundary. If I tell you that I feel that this is disrespectful, then your should have been, I'm sorry you took it that way. That was not what I meant.
Mhm.
Would have still been working there. But instead, the response was, well, then we should go our separate ways, which
Mm.
I just closed up the office and I was like, okay, adios, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then there was some communication between the team members at that job about me
Mhm.
while I was excluded from the group chat. And I found out about it and I picked up a loaded gun that I had. And I was about to go there and just shoot everybody up and then shoot myself. Like,
Mhm.
that was the plan. I was
Mhm.
You're the last person that's going to hurt me.
Yeah.
I'm done. Like, everybody's gonna feel it today.
Yeah.
And I thank God for the power of prayer, because if I hadn't prayed that day,
Yeah.
I would have either been dead or in prison now.
Yeah.
That is how much it boiled over.
Mhm. Mhm.
Realized, okay, yeah, this is a problem.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
big problem. I really fix this. And so I just kind of had to excommunicate everybody, just
Mhm.
close off and just start from scratch. Looking at myself in the mirror and talking to myself differently, and um, spent a lot of time praying and reflecting, um, and just doing a lot of inner work. Because if I hadn't, like I said, I probably would have been dead, because that was my intention that night. I
Yeah.
was I was just gonna blow my brains out
Yeah.
and call it a day. I remember texting my sons. Um, I wrote the long text of what I was gonna send them, and I texted them number for my life insurance policy and all of.
Mhm.
I had done the
Had a
preparation.
plan. You had what we call in therapy world, you had a suicidal
Yep.
action plan. You had
I
a plan. Hmm.
I had a plan set up, and I said, that's it. I'm done. I'm done with the pain. I was just done. Like, just
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, I am very happy you made a different choice and you listened to other parts of yourself that over time you had built up these resources, like you say, like prayer, like other people perhaps you might have been able to reach out to, like even the writing and the talking you had. So by the time all of these events came to you, you had written a lot already.
I had written, yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
of it already. And
Yeah.
so I still wondered if I should even publish it. I was like, I'm just not going to. I had gotten to the point, I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not writing anymore. I'm
Yeah.
just alone. Um, and my husband was like, yeah, that's not going to serve the purpose. You need to finish it.
Yeah.
And I did. But even that incident almost destroyed my marriage because he had never seen that side of me. I
Yeah.
had never seen that side of me because I was absolute. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
This is, and I'm blowing everybody up.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it took a lot of time and quietness
Yeah.
to, calm the voices and everything else. And I actually stopped taking the antidepressants that I had been taking for 15 years.
Mm.
Completely stopped taking it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized, oh, I don't hear those thoughts anymore.
Mm.
So for me, it was an epiphany like, so were the meds contributing to how I felt with all the suicidal thoughts? Because I haven't had them since I stopped.
Mm.
Yeah, a lot of prayer.
Yeah.
Realize that I'm not doing the meds. I'm just going to rely on other things, higher power.
Yeah. Yeah. This is powerful stuff,
But
but this is real life stuff. You see what I'm saying? This
yeah,
is real life. This is real life. A lot of us, we go through stuff and we think we're the only person. Like the stuff they tell you where, oh, you're so strong,
yeah,
you're so cute and strong. Yeah, yeah, life must be a breeze.
yeah, yeah. No, no, it wasn't. No, it
Yeah,
wasn't.
yeah. Glenda says, oh my, prayers work. The world needs you. And Corinne says, very painful.
Yeah,
Yes, 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 yes. Now, Petra also says, not having a father really does change everything. And it does, because let's think about it. Let's kind of rewind. So from December of 2021, look at you. Let's reverse. The young lady, the wife, right? Back, she's in her 20s. She has her kids. Back in her teens, she leaves Dominica 16. Back earlier than that, she is having these experiences with a predatorial adult. Back earlier, she's a little girl who goes to a funeral and swears her daddy's there because she needs him so bad, she magically fantasizes it. Back to the little girl who, even before she's born, we have parents, we have adults who are making decisions, poor relationship decisions.
yeah,
We're not securing a relationship where they know for sure their kids are going to be safe,
right.
and
Yep,
we are bringing many kids into the world without doing enough of a screening of the people we are sleeping with,
right. Yeah.
and we leave our kids just out there.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes we blame them because no, they look like daddy.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah,
I too. You look just like him, and you ruined my life, and nursing school, and I've heard it all.
I'm sorry.
I've heard it all.
Yeah, I am sorry. That kind of wounding is so deep. You see the height to which you went in December? As high as that is like, is as deep as the pain is.
Yeah.
Okay? And so I encourage you, and I am applauding you. I am so proud of you for even like doing all of this work already, getting so much of this stuff out,
Yeah.
hopefully to inspire somebody else to, hey, what do you want them to know? What are you trying to inspire them to do or to know?
That it's okay to speak up. First of all, you don't have to suffer alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like walking around smiling, helping everybody else when I was literally just dying on the inside.
Yeah.
Um, it's okay to speak up. It's not your fault. What happened to you is not your fault.
Yeah.
Just a part of what happened. You are not what happened. Um, and it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Nobody's nobody's going to judge you, because guess what? The next person is going through the same thing. So if nobody talks about it, nobody can help each other.
We don't
Because
know. If you don't, nobody else knows if you don't say it.
yeah, you're just walking around in your fancy cars and your Louis Vuitton purses and your red bottoms, and you're literally just dead on the inside. I
Yeah.
was literally just dead, just walking around, just going with the flow, um, and would cry all the time, all the time. I was constantly crying. I would get in the shower and just cry and cry and cry and cry, and I'd wake up crying. I'd go to bed crying, and it was just nothing. Nothing was ever good enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was never
That's it.
good.
That's it. That's it. Nyamba Phoebe Israel says, "Oh my God, did I just, sorry, did I just hear my story from someone else?"
Yeah, there's a lot of us out there. There's
There's
a
a
lot.
out there.
I think that's why the Kanisha story upsets me as much as it does,
Yes. Tell me more.
because she went from home to home to home, being told, oh, nobody wants you. I think I've heard that she was told this.
I'm sure she was along the way.
Um, just, and it's funny because they talked about her growing and her body changing. And I remember this moment. I remember the little house we were living in when I came to my mom and said, I just peed and there was blood in it.
Yeah.
And then my cousins came to me and said, your mom told my mom you had an abortion. I couldn't make this up. I couldn't make it. She never took me to the doctor. I never knew why I was bleeding then. I it just nothing was ever done about it. And so that was the end result of that. Like, oh, you had an abortion. And all of this is before I left Dominica, by the way, and I left at 16.
I'm essentially stunned.
Yeah. So that was the little tale in the little village, that I had had an abortion.
Wow.
Sex yet.
Wow. And so, on top of not being sat down and explained to, well, this is what this is, now I have another stressor. My community is now looking at me like I've done something horrible.
Right.
But this is also coming from the person who's my sole source of emotional support.
Yeah.
That's right, lunatic. That was her period. That
Yeah.
was her period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, I listened to Kanisha's story, and I was like, that could have been me.
Absolutely.
I could have been at one of the houses that I lived at, and I disappeared.
Yeah.
I could have just disappeared.
Absolutely.
Stories are so very similar, down to the church part. I remember finding solace in church and always being in church. Like, I was always in church.
Hmm.
I left the Catholic Church and became Pentecostal.
Yeah.
By the time I was 13, I had done that because I just wanted to feel a sense of belonging for so long. I had made the decision to stop going to one denomination, moved into another on my own. And it's like, that still wasn't good enough. There was still criticism there. Like, now you think you're good, and you hanging out with those church boys and the church. It was just never ending. It was just never. So, Isha is just me. She's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think I just get so angry because I'm just thinking of all the things that coulda, woulda, shoulda,
Yeah.
and piecing those pieces together because I'm like, well, that's what happened in my life when this was going on. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what's going on now
Yeah.
because like nothing's changed
Yeah.
as far as that's concerned. So yeah, that's that, and that's why I canceled my trip. It was such a trigger for me. I was supposed to be there in 8 days. I I just can't do it. I'm like I can't go. It was that much for me. It's bothering me that much. Yeah.
So, you mentioned in the book, you write in the book about as an adult, and I can relate to that experience, right? As an adult, you're like, you still love the parent who's abandoned you because that's what it is. It's child abandonment.
Yeah.
That is what it is, men. When you leave your kids and you send them $5 or not, mm, and you never see them, it is called child abandonment. So as an adult, you still love them.
Yeah.
You're still hoping. And so you make efforts. You say you made 2 efforts to meet with your father. I'm sure you had it all planned out. You had talked to him and arranged it. How
Yeah.
did that go? How did that go?
So the first time I got his number, we talked for probably about 3 or 4 months. Not a lot, but enough that I was able to say, okay, I'm gonna come this time. I think he was living in Saba at the time. I said, I'm not going to Saba because that island is too small, and I don't want to. I'm not doing that. So meet me in Saint Martin. Like meet me here.
Hmm.
And he was like, oh yeah, that's fine. So I made plans and bought the tickets, brought my family, and he he didn't show up. We got to the meeting spot, and then I called the number, and the phone wasn't working, so I couldn't get a hold of him. And we just sat there and waited and waited. I think we stayed about 3.5 hours
Wow.
back to the hotel because the kids were like, "Okay, mom, this man ain't coming."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I took my kids and my husband, and we went back to the hotel, and I didn't hear from him for like a couple years, because he had gotten sick. So his other daughter, messaged me and said, "Oh, your dad just had a stroke or whatever he had had at the time." And I said, "Oh, okay, well, what's I got to do with me?"
Yeah.
Um, Made plans to go back again. Didn't take the kids this time,
Hmm.
and this time his niece, which is my cousin,
Hmm.
sent her instead. Or she came because I was in contact with her. I don't even remember how it happened, but I met with her. So I met her for the first time, but he didn't come.
Yeah.
So after that, I was like, snip, snip, we're done.
Yeah. So what you did was the correct action. The snip snip, because you see, when we become adults, the adult must rescue the child in us.
Yeah.
Okay. So to continue trying to create a relationship with an adult who is not really a relative, they don't need the father title anymore. They're a relative, they're a blood relative who is not willing to also reciprocate, that is the appropriate action.
Yes.
And I know many relatives around the side sometimes have issues when the child goes snip, snip, because the father, they'll tell you, oh, it's your father, but it's your father, it's your father, we, it's your father, it's your father, it's your father, we. But a father is a different relationship than a biological donor.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
and essentially what I had to do with my mom as well. And the couple siblings that still spoke to me were like, "That's your mother. What you mean you're not gonna talk to her?" I said, "This relationship is toxic.
yeah,
Toxic. It's been toxic my entire life.
yeah.
Every memory that I have is a bad one. I don't have any good memories. Not one. I cannot
Mm,
think of one. Not one. I can't
mm,
think of one."
yeah,
And so for me, I just had to. say, you know what, I'm just going to be an orphan. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not telling my side at that point. I'm okay with you guys not talking to me. I'm okay. Because it's like they were here, but still in that Dominican mentality that, and I'm like, I'm not doing this.
They
Like,
were not being realistic and they were not being honest, because that's a very painful truth for you to admit that the same person we call mom, is acting like a really narcissistic mother towards one of us
yeah.
and
And
scapegoating this one.
difference in the mothering towards the other kids. So it's not that you're not capable of doing it,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
everybody, then I would have a little bit more empathy and say, okay, you don't know how to do it.
yeah, yeah,
So lack that mothering skill.
yeah.
But oh, you did pretty good with the other ones. So
Mhm,
just
mhm.
me. And then
Yeah.
still sit down to this day and think, well, what was I doing that was bad? I still try and think, like, was I bad? Like, was I a bad kid? Like, was I getting in trouble? Like what was I doing that was so bad that a mother would just, the beatings, the
Can I give you the answer to that? You're asking, was I a bad kid?
go ahead.
So, one of the reasons why I can answer that question is because I taught Vanessa at St. John's School in Portsmouth. What
Yeah,
grade was that? Five?
yeah,
That was grade five. And I might have her first written work because we
yeah,
we did and at the end of the semester you would do kind of art and um whatever. So our class, we did, some kids drew, and we actually did a storybook. We called it a book. And many of our students in the class that year, including
yeah.
wrote you wrote a story. So you've been a writer.
I've been writing for that because she always said your mouth's gonna get you in trouble, and I've always taken it so literal.
No, you
And
were a fantastic student,
yeah,
a beautiful child in my class, beautiful child in my class, beautiful.
well, that's what I thought. But it's like
Yes,
the one person that's supposed to have the best opinion of you
yeah.
had the worst opinion of you, and so
Sometimes that happens. Sometimes that happens. But you want to know that when it comes like that, usually it's not the child that's sick.
yeah.
Okay? Usually it's not the child that's sick. And so I am so proud of you for everything you've chosen to do in spite of. Because you have begun a journey of reparenting yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
How are you having your kids help you with that?
So my oldest, which parenting him is a challenge, and I see myself in him in a certain way where he's very introverted. He's very withdrawn, and I think he got that from me because I've always just I was never this. Once I came here, I was never social. I just stayed in the house. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't go to the clubs. I didn't go get lit. I didn't do any of that people do when they're here. And he's gotten that side of me. And so now getting him to open up and talk about how he's feeling or what he's doing or anything is impossible. And so for me, I want to just pull away and be like, I'm not dealing with you.
Mm,
That's what I want to say.
yeah,
Then I have to say, no, you can't be to him what your mother was to you. You know,
right.
he doesn't respond to your text messages. Just keep texting him anyway, because
Yes,
he's gonna read it, and I see that he reads it. So at least he knows every day his mom is thinking about him because
that's right.
20. So and it's just such a challenge. Whereas my second child, he'll text me and call me all day.
Mhm,
He'll say, I love you, mom, you're the best. And
mhm.
how can two children from the same person be so completely different?
Yeah.
And I just have to make sure that I'm loving them the same way and giving the older one the same attention, even though he's not responding to it.
You're loving them as individuals because they are individuals. Yes, yes.
For me, and I talk about that in the book, I I didn't want kids because I was like, I wouldn't know how to be a mother. I
Mm-hmm.
know how to love because I never got it. So how
Yeah.
do you get something you never had?
Yeah.
And I battled with whether or not I wanted to have kids. And then when I had him, I remember the reason I had him. It's because his dad wanted children, and the previous relationship, she didn't want children. And I remember him being sad about that. And so, me trying to please him,
Back to people pleasing. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
oh, I'll give you a baby. Oh, no,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like I was 21. I probably
Yeah.
did. I
Yeah.
probably college first.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I wanted to please him so much and hold on to him because that was the only, now that this was the only family that I had. Like he was
Mm-hmm.
family. So I wanted to hold on to him so much that he wanted a kid then, right then and then. So okay, fine, let's get pregnant.
Yeah.
And so that's how the first child came about. And I think about that now, like, oh girl, you've been messed up for a long time.
Well, is there a different way you can say that? That's what I would say to if you were my client. Is there a different way than, girl, you've been messed up for so long? Maybe put it in behavioral terms. Girl, for a long time you have XYZ.
No, it's messed up. Now,
It's not messed up. It's I'll tell you why it's not messed up. I'm going to explain to you that that was your best attempt at coping with the crazy that was in front of you.
yeah,
So when you consider the crazy of a mother who's abandoning me, although I'm there in their foot, who's lying to me, who's not, who's telling me all these nasty things about my father, who's also abandoned me. Let me tell you, you've done a heck of a job. I'm telling you.
yeah,
Okay, you were not messed up. The environment around you was messed up, and so your behavioral response to a messed up environment is messed up behavior more than likely.
right,
What happens?
right,
If your environment was different, meaning if I have a father in here who's loving me, every action causes a reaction. You have cause and effect. So the cause of my father being a loving, protective father draws out the effect of me being a calm, reasonable, more than likely clear thinking young lady.
right,
If I'm in an environment with a mother who's loving me, supporting me, even though my father has abandoned me, essentially, I respond in a different way. You
right,
understand? So
right,
you, the individual, you, the person, the human, you're not messed up. The environment around you was messed up, and you were doing the best you could in
right,
response to these causes, to these actions, reacting. That's
yeah,
the best you can. That's the best you can do, especially when you're a child who hasn't learned yet, who hasn't gotten to 25 yet with a brain where you can make decisions as to, okay, well, this is in my best interest. This is not in my best interest. So I will do this one instead.
right,
And
right,
that's where we need a little bit of compassion
right,
for the self.
yeah. And I think I've gotten to the place now where I'm better to myself,
Mhm.
um, where I talk to myself differently because for a long time, I blamed myself for everything that happened. I blamed myself for him not being there. I blamed myself for the way my relationship is with my mother, with my siblings. I just kept hearing in my head, well, Vanessa, you're the common denominator. So it's gotta be you. You're the problem.
Mhm.
Um, and then I had to say to myself, no, I'm speaking up for myself. So if nobody wants to hear how this behavior is affecting me, and you don't want to acknowledge your role in the behavior that's affected me and causing me to be this way, then we don't need to have a relationship.
Simple, simple and true.
Really simple.
You are
You know,
not for me. You are not for me. And you are not demonstrating love to me.
right.
And the person who is not demonstrating love to you, there's no need to be in your life. It's just no.
No.
It's
And
just no.
I'm not I'm finally okay with that. I'm finally at a point where I'm like, I changed my phone number.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's it. You can't randomly reach me and let me feel like there's going to be a relationship,
Yeah. Yeah.
then disappear again. Because then,
Narcissistic behavior to the T.
right, just comes right back again. And then I get anxious again because I'm like, okay, we're going to fix it this time. And then,
Yes.
I remember texting a cousin and saying I was going to come to New York for Christmas.
Mhm.
And she said, oh, okay. And then she messaged me back and said, well, so and so is going to be there, so maybe you shouldn't come. Well, so and so was an aunt whose then boyfriend tried to molest me.
Mm.
And when I brought it to so and so's attention,
Auntie.
of course, it was my fault that I
Yeah,
was in the bed and your man came into the room and tried to do what he tried to do.
yeah, yeah.
So again, after all these years of being gone from Dominica and this aunt now visiting the United States, I'm told you can't come for Christmas because this aunt is there. And we do not want to disrupt the good vibes because this
We can disrupt your good vibes.
right. So I think that was another straw for me where I was just like, you know what? Just
Yeah.
yeah,
So you're saying you've started paying attention to saying yes to what feels good for you and no to what doesn't.
absolutely.
And that is where you are operating in your divine feminine energy. Ladies, that's what that means. Even if it means somebody else is going to hurt, because that's what you want. You don't want to be the one hurting for other people. That's very destructive on a feminine body. It gives us cancer. It gives us what you call it, diabetes. It gives us hypertension. It is not good for your physical body, women, to take on other people's pain as if you're a lumby. No, no,
Yeah,
no. Yeah. Your no is what's going to save your life. And again, we can do that when we're children because that's the best we know how to do. But you
yeah.
hit 25 and you're an adult, you have to start making choices, even though they're painful, that are in your best interest. This is how you save yourself.
Yeah. And listening to that little voice when you just know that something's not right, just say no. Or
In
somebody
your,
tries to reintroduce themselves to you, and you're like, I remember you hurt me.
that's right.
You hurt me. And you didn't acknowledge that you hurt me. But
Yeah.
now come back. No,
Bye.
you
See
don't
ya.
get to come back. I'm sorry.
Okay, so tell us where we can get the book again. Okay, Glenda wants to know where can we get the book?
You can get it on Amazon, Amazon.com. You can get it on BarnesandNoble.com. You can get it on VCAlexander.com. However, if you are not in the US, I would suggest Amazon. Uh,
Okay.
and you can also get it on Tableau.com, Tablo.com.
Awesome. Okay, so Glenda says, I'm very proud of you, V. I've learned from this convo, and I have family members going through the same thing. Abandonment. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Abandonment. Yeah.
there's a lot of people going through it. And
A lot.
most people don't want to talk about it because it's embarrassing. Who wants
And
to?
sometimes you don't want to even admit it to yourself because then we go into, well, what does that say about me? But
Right.
that's part of the healing process where you have to figure that out and realize it says nothing about me, what somebody else chooses to do.
And,
Somebody else chooses to do what they want to do. It's
yeah,
not me.
and I said that in the book. It's not my responsibility as a child to fix a parent child relationship.
Nope, nope,
But
nope.
the fact that I am an adult,
That's right.
still the child in the
That's
relationship
that's right.
to fix it.
That's
Not,
right. That is out of order. It's out of the natural order of things.
yeah.
Parents provide for their children.
Mhm.
They're the ones. If you messed up, you have to have enough sense in your head to say, I messed up. And it
Right.
cannot be the child that's chasing after an adult,
Yeah.
after a parent. It's out of order.
Nope.
Out of order.
So yeah, I had to make that distinction that wait a second. Why am I the one trying to fix this? I didn't do anything wrong.
You didn't break
And
it?
even if I did do something, as a parent, you should say, this is what you did wrong that hurt me.
That's right.
This is what you fix it. And then
Yeah.
I can say, okay, But I'm not chasing anybody. Those days are gone.
Absolutely. Okay, so I want to offer you something, and I want to offer all the listeners something. I've used it before here. I use it a lot with my clients, where any event, right, that I want, that especially if it's a painful event, that I want to make some sense out of, that I want to leave with something positive for me, because I have chosen and decided to live my life in a way that regardless of the negative event, honey, I'm leaving with something good for me.
Yes.
I'm leaving with something positive for me. So it's called a high buy process. And I learned it from Dr. Pat Allen, who teaches a lot on relationships. And she says, what you do is, especially with relationships that were very painful for you, and you really want to separate all of the yucky, mucky feelings to get some clarity, you think about what were the joys of that relationship, what were the pains of the relationship. Based on that relationship, what do you want moving forward? And then what do you not want? What do you never want again based on that relationship? Those are two different questions. And finally, what was your biggest lesson from that experience that you actually feel grateful for? So let's start with your pops, with your dad. I call him Pops, but I don't know what you call him. Start with him. What was the thing? Was there anything? And I want you to think of something that was your biggest positive or biggest joy from that relationship. Something that you felt good about.
It felt good when I finally got to see him, because we did a few FaceTimes, and
Mm.
it felt good to see him because
Yeah.
I kind of saw who I looked like
Yes, yes, yes.
myself a little bit. So
Right. I
yeah,
can appreciate that. What was your biggest pain? The thing that hurt you the most in that relationship?
finding him,
Finding him. How so?
because it's like if something is missing but you never had it, you're not really missing it. But then I found him and I thought I was going to have something, and then he just didn't live up to all the hype that I had in my head about him. So that
Mhm.
made it worse. That made it more painful,
Yeah.
because it solidified for me in my head what I had been thinking, that I wasn't wanted.
Mm.
So finding him, first thing that could,
Become real. The pain became very real.
it was real, because I'm like, oh, so he really doesn't want me,
Yeah.
because I found you. I made the effort, even though we never met face to face, but we talked on the phone,
Yeah.
and still didn't make. You still didn't make the effort to come find me.
Yeah. Okay. So, based on that relationship, what do you want moving forward? I want what?
Whew. I don't know that I want anything from that relationship, because there is nothing that he could give me. Any
So, it doesn't have to be something from the relationship. What do you want based on that relationship? Based on this relationship, I want to always feel strong enough to be able to stand up for myself, whatever it is. I want, based on that
so
experience, I want.
that relationship, I want to be able to tell myself that I am enough, that I do not need to have him in my life to be complete.
That's it. I want to practice validating myself.
Correct.
It's simple. There you go.
Yep. I want
Yes,
to validate myself without him.
yes, yes. And based on that relationship, what do I never want again? What do I not want ever again to experience?
Me minimizing myself to get anybody's affection or
Can you say
love.
can you say it in full? Based on that relationship, I don't want ever.
Based on that relationship, I don't want to ever minimize myself again to get validation or love from anyone.
Abuya.
Yep.
What's the biggest lesson? And so, even if you've been a jackass and you abandoned me, thank you for teaching me this lesson.
The biggest lesson that I've learned from this is that I am enough.
And I want you to say it like, thank you for teaching me through this experience that I am enough.
So, to this wonderful man, thank you for teaching me through this experience that even without you, I am enough.
Clap, clap, clap for her. Clap for her. I have a priest. I have a priest from Nigeria over here. Every time he goes, I get clap for them. Clap for her. Yes, yes, yes.
I
No
am
to
enough.
your mom. No to your mom. We're gonna run through that high buy process
Ooh.
to your mom. So what is, and I know it might be tough. I want you to tell us what your biggest joy.
Hmm. Oof. My biggest joy from that relationship,
Yes.
that it taught me how to be a good mother.
Oh, you're my student. I just love what you're doing. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. What is your biggest pain from sorry, y'all, from that relationship? What's your biggest pain?
My biggest pain from that relationship is that it took me too long to realize that I was not the problem.
I mean you suffered for too long.
Suffered for too long.
Yeah. Okay. I can appreciate that. And then now, what do you want? I want this. Based on that experience, I want.
Based on that experience, I want to be able to tell my younger self that she's going to be okay.
So, okay, I want you to delete the want and say it as a declaration.
Based on that experience, I am telling my younger self
Yes.
that she's okay.
Boom. Okay. Boom. And uh, what do you never want to experience anymore based on that experience? Based on that experience, I don't want.
Based on that experience,
I don't want to ever.
I don't want to ever sell myself short.
Hercules, Hercules, Hercules. Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes. And finally, what's the lesson? Person who gave me birth, thank you. Even if I had to learn this the hard way, thank you for this lesson.
To the woman that gave me life, based on the experience that I've had with you, you've made me a very strong, independent woman who can now raise her children and pour the love into them that you did not pour into me. And I forgive.
Yes. And I thank you.
And I thank you for that.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Can you tell the listeners again where they can find your book? Guys, I'm encouraging you to read it and leave a review after you've read it. Okay? All right.
So
Go ahead.
this is what this is what it looks like.
Okay, say that again because I think I just lost you for a second. You said this is what it looks like. Our
When
connection just went weird.
you
Our connection went weird there for a sec. Can you tell us
okay.
again? This is what the book looks like and where they can find it.
Books look like this. Book looks like this. You can find it on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com,
Mhm.
Tablo.com, which is TABLO.com, or vcalexander.com, but only
Okay.
the VC Alexander if you're in the United States.
Okay, so only use vcalexander.com if you're in the US. If you're in Dominica in the Caribbean, use Amazon, but it's available on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, and Tableau.com. And Tableau is tablo.com. Okay, so here, let me offer all of you and me, it's a reminder for me because a lot of us girls grew up without our biological father. Many people grew up without their biological father in their lives, and they did it in such a way that it felt like you were abandoned, like they didn't want you enough to fight for you or work for you. Yeah. And I heard you mention the siblings. I heard you mention the siblings. I'm going to offer some ways to heal from that kind of pain of feeling unloved as a child. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, meaning there are many other ways, and we got to figure out what works best for us. For me, I'll tell you, one of the things that has helped me heal the most from that wound of not having my biological father be present in my life properly, like a father, like my stepdad was. One of the things that helped me heal the most was having my grandmother, his mother, and my grandpa, and all my aunties, and all my uncles step up for me. And they allowed me now to connect to practically every last one of my siblings on his side that we know of anyway. And it's been one of my biggest joys to, over time, get to know my siblings on my father's side. You know, it's a big soulagement. It's a big healing balm on my
Yeah.
heart. Having over time. And I remember I know the feeling you're talking about of discomfort, of awkwardness. Because when I was little, I'd go visit my sister, my Vicky, my big sister in Wesley, and my brother Errol. I would just go for like weekends. You know, my mom would let me go. I got the best mom, Lord. And I remember feeling weird and awkward. But
Right.
as we started so early, now they're like, my heart, And although my biological father was not connected to that process at all. So, number one, learning your triggers is important because you see that thing of abandonment and rejection, feeling isolated or separated from something where you find that's a hook or an anchor for you, like your job back in December. You must have really felt, hey, I love it there. I'm valuable here. So watching out for your vulnerability in that area is important, and that's going to take prayer, like building up. It's like you have to build
Right.
up the muscle of strength to where you're talking to yourself in a different way and you're reminding yourself, you know what? I am okay. I am good enough. I am okay. I'm good enough. So making affirmations or statements, declarations that
Right.
you use to retrain your subconscious mind, because you have to imagine the subconscious mind as the engine of your mind, but
Right.
that subconscious is like the child in us.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, you have to reparent the child in you and teach it now, program it now, deprogram, remove all the negative program it got. And how you do that, you're not fighting with it, you're not resisting it, you're just pouring good stuff into it.
Right.
Pour the good water in, and all the nasty dirt is going to go away. And you're going to be left with a nice, clean glass of water. Yeah? So don't worry about fighting the negative thoughts. Just pour in positive, beautiful thoughts. Okay? Another one, practicing self care and self love, which includes you telling people who trying to be unkind to you, I appreciate you have a right to use your words however you want, but I don't feel good when you talk to me like this. And I don't want you to do it again. And if they persist, to be snip, snip.
Yeah.
You don't need to be in my circle if this is what you bring into me. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. So you're practicing also setting boundaries around yourself. You use your past to learn what you do and don't want in life, like that exercise we just did. And here's a big one, journaling, writing,
Right.
writing, 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 and also reading books that help you, self-help books on the issue, on whatever it is you're feeling like, hey, I want to get stronger in this area. So reading books,
Right.
reading more and more books. Okay.
Awesome.
What do you think? And what do you feel?
I feel so much better. I always feel better when I talk about it. Now, I couldn't before.
Yeah.
Because I know that my assignment, as much as I've tried to run away from it, is definitely in helping other women. So
absolutely.
I welcome it.
Yeah.
And I try to help as much as I can without packing other people's ish into my suitcase.
Yes. And that takes dedication. That takes paying attention. That takes sometimes getting your own person you can vent to. Yeah, you can process these things with, so your cup doesn't overflow with crap. All right? All right. So, men, fellas, I know everybody knows being with a woman is a beautiful thing. We know that. Because I'm on Transforming Trauma podcast, I'm not going to go into Dominican colloquial language. but what girls need from their dads, what girls need are loving fathers who are present. We don't need your money, you know.
Yeah.
We don't need your money as much as we need your hugs and your love and your faith in us, because you are who we get our self-confidence from. Girls get their confidence, their belief in themselves, largely in part due to their relationships with their dad. Their high self-esteem, their knowing that they are safe and protected frees them up. It frees a little girl up to be her best self because she knows, I'm safe, I'm protected, I can do whatever I want. My daddy is a superhero, you know.
Yep.
Okay, that's all your girls want. So men, if you know you're not yet ready, not that, I mean, I'm not sure why we still have to say that in 2022, but if you know you're not yet ready for the responsibility of kids, there are ways to protect your offspring from that kind of painful experience. And we encourage you, as hard as you come after the ladies, to come with your umbrella. Stop fighting with women for you to do it raw. Come with your umbrella. You already done know you don't want to stay with her. You already done know you're just passing for a hit and run. You don't want to settle down. You don't want to buckle down. Come prepared, because you're not just passing, it's not a pass by night you necessarily doing. You might leave a soul behind that is going to be depending on you to be a proper father. Okay? So Vanessa, I am so proud of you. Your miss is very proud of you. 3 books. Can you tell us the other titles? Okay, before we go, what are the other titles they need to be looking out for? Because you have 2 other books.
Yes. The first book is Priceless Passion at Arm's Length. And the second one is Priceless Passion, No Turning Back.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay? Priceless Passion at Arm's Length. Is that a romance?
Yep.
For all of you who used to like your little Mills and Boone and your little Harley Quinn. Priceless Passion. She's got 2. Okay?
Yeah.
She's got 2, y'all. All right. So I want to wish everybody a wonderful Thursday night. I have this little candle that I want to light for Kanisha.
Yeah.
Tonight, wherever she is, there's a tradition to light a candle and leave it in the window. And you hope that it brings the person home. So however we find Kanisha, I really pray that we do. And I want all of you to remember to, let's go higher. Let's keep that love for humanity. Divine love, yeah?
Divine love.
Strong, going strong. Divine love. Because love covers a multitude of sins. Okay? So, y'all, take it easy. See you next Thursday. Bye. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you.
You're welcome.